to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast where resilience is not just a concept, it's a lived experience. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria, a resilience and accountability coach, an ultra marathoner, and a relentless believer in the human spirit's ability to rise. This podcast is a companion to my book, Resilience Plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. Each episode is a raw, unfiltered dive into the stories of those who have faced life's hardest battles and emerged stronger. Today, I don't say the word pleasure, but it's such a privilege to reinvite a friend of mine, Jess Toft. She's an educator and she's an advocate driven by a mission to empower creativity, sustainability, and inclusivity. For her, environment is ever evolving, whether it is going out and educating people, children, or she is in a world often filled with confusing words and manipulative actions where she has created a bully body that serves to be a compassionate AI companion, a reality anchor. She has a background in early childhood and special education and a very deep understanding of the diverse needs. Anyway, rather than going on talking further, Jess, welcome back to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast.
Hi, Thomas. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited to be here again. This will be like number 3, right?
Number 3, yes, because
Yay.
that's a word, I use the word ever evolving, and you have been changing the different environments where you believe your capabilities and your strengths can be used. And today you've gone into something, and especially I can see the t-shirt that you're wearing about the bully
Yeah.
body. So here I say, when I talk about my podcast, I always say is that our purpose, our deepest of purpose, comes from our at times from our deepest of pains, or it could be something that is hurting, and you believe that there has to be a change. And just knowing you for the last uh, maybe more than a couple of months, I know that you have been quite a passionate advocate about helping children and in the sphere of education. And one of the things which a lot of people they kind of hide around, how they don't talk much about, is about bullying. But what really triggered this element that you need to work on something that needs a louder cry, that people need to understand that this is an inherent problem?
Yeah. Well, so my daughters are in elementary school. And while I used to direct childcare centers and I used to get to oversee them, their interactions, I got to hire their teachers and I got to construct their upbringing until they went into the public school system. And then I woke up to the reality that not every system they go into is going to be as protected and safe and supportive as the one that I was able to provide them. So when my oldest daughter was being bullied a few years ago, she was in 2nd grade, the school didn't take me seriously, didn't take the situation seriously, didn't take action at all. And it was shocking to me that people in that position that we assume have the best interest in mind for our children don't necessarily, or they don't have the skills, or they aren't able to gain the perspective. So I realized then that something needed to be done. And I wasn't going to be around forever to make sure that my daughters were guided through this world of lots of wonderful things, but also lots of manipulation. And I wanted to create a tool that they could go to for support on things that they weren't able to come to me for support with. And that's where Bully Buddy was born. Yeah, so Bully Buddy will be there to guide them to their own inner light when the world is dark and challenging and confusing. It will also document their reality and their perspective throughout all challenging situations. So if in the future, or when in the future things are manipulated, they're able to just show what was real to them and gain support when they need it.
That's quite amazing, and especially as I mentioned, is that a lot of educational institutes, they don't really pay much, or there's not much of focus about bullying. They feel that okay, it's a part of growing up, and especially in today's world, where you did mention the word it is dark, because how do children they do about bullying, or how do they come across being a bully, is that when they want to imitate somebody who's bigger. And there's so much at times when you look into the whether you're listening to the news or reading the different aspects, there's so much of anger, there's so much of frustration which is stemming in from the adults itself. So the children itself, they kind of take that particular chip out of the block and then they try to focus it. So does the bully buddy help in allowing the children to understand the difference between what is there in the current situation or what they're trying to imitate?
Right. So we learn from what we're surrounded by. And we learn coping mechanisms, we learn behaviors, we learn what works. So if we're in an environment where we're being bullied and that bully isn't being held accountable and nothing's being done, and that bully is ultimately winning, then we're going to learn that that is a way to win. And I don't want my daughters to grow up and contribute to the problem. I want my daughters to grow up as leaders and role models that realize that they're responsible for their own actions, that they do not need to respond to other people's abusive behavior, and that they can move forward without engaging and realizing that they don't need the external validation. So when they talk to Bully Buddy, they can talk about it like they're journaling. And Bully Buddy can tell them, hey, that sounds really tough. And I can imagine that would make you feel the way that you're feeling right now. How do you think we could best move forward? And then Bully Buddy can suggest options, and it can not only validate their feelings, their experience, but it guides them. It holds their hand, and it deals with facts, and it steers them out of the area that emotions can bring us to. So they don't need to continue the cycle. And that's what I want for all of the children. So I believe that we can end bullying if we can just retrain the minds of our youth to believe in a better future.
Wonderful. And guys, whoever is listening to this podcast, I am putting in Jess's links down in the comments below. Do have a look onto it, because if this podcast has impacted you or somebody that you know that requires help, please do reach out. And if at all, it could be that she may not be able to help you in that space, but then she could always direct you, because she has been in the space and she has seen the pain, she has seen the struggles, she has seen what could be done. So do reach out. It could be something which could be transformative. But here again, Jess is not just about the kids or the children in the school. She's also a goodwill ambassador, wherein she's spreading out. Congratulations on that particular posting
Thank
that you just got. Yeah, that's a huge one. And here again, if you look into a few of the postings that Jess has done, is that I do remember she had put across. Was it yesterday? In a bad system, a good person is the greatest threat, right? So it is not just about bullying in at schools, but we know that whether it is in the corporate or whether it is in our day-to-day waking walking life, we do get pushed around. So what are your thoughts on those particular things? Like if something comes to your mind, I know, I mean, there are a lot of times we say that, okay, that's only for children, but then when you look into it, there are few core principles. What you can use on a child, you can use on an adult also. So what comes to your mind that in case somebody is getting bullied, what can they do to break that cycle, or how can they get to be more stronger, or how can they, because bullying, you tend to be, you lose yourself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what do you say about that, Jess?
Well, I think it's a manipulation of your reality, and the other person is trying to write the narrative to fit what they want, and we don't have to play into it. The bully buddy, it anchors us in what actually is real, so that we're not easily manipulated into believing that we should maybe doubt ourselves or
Hmm.
think that the other person has whatever that we don't have, and they're the authority. Truth is truth. And if we're walking the right path forward with, respect in mind for everyone in our orbit, we're doing the right thing. And I think sometimes it's easy to lose perspective, and especially for people who like to make sure that they're not assuming things. I think it's easy to kind of get tangled up in going, well, did I say that? Or did that happen? Or am I wrong? Am I imagining things? And that's what bullying does, is it manipulates your perspective and your perception of the truth. So yeah, it happens in the workplace, it happens in schools, it happens in relationships, and it's ultimately all the same. And the core principles that Bully Buddy sends you back to is that your light comes from within, that you are good enough, and that you don't need validation from anyone else. So if someone tells you or tries to make you feel bad, or like you're not enough, Bully Buddy can bring you back in to remind you that you are. And I think it's especially important in the neurodivergent community, because emotional regulation it's a hard thing for a lot of people to maintain that calm in the storm. And that's what we want to do. We want to keep people balanced, keep the calm, and keep the enemy at bay.
That would be your mind itself, right? A lot of times, because the mind plays a bigger trick on that, whether we are not enough, and that's when the bullies can take over. And guys, also please note that Jess is very much into neurodiversity. I mean, she's been, and the inclusion. So this is something that she has been passionate about. So it is not that it just came out of the blue about bully buddy. A question which comes up is, so bully buddy, you mentioned is for children. Do you have something like that for adults also?
Well, so Bully Buddy, our first version of Bully Buddy, which is just ending the testing phase right now, it will be public very soon, is more of a universal
Okay.
Bully Buddy. So it works for all ages.
Hmm.
We're going on to develop specific age groups in addition. So we'll have a early childhood, we'll have an elementary, we'll have middle school, we'll have a high school, we'll have an adults, we'll have a workplace gear. We also have developed other buddies, because we believe that the world will be a better place if we can encourage and help assist people in being buddies, not bullies. So we, with Glee Labs, are developing people-powered AI. So we have a menopause buddy to help women
Wonderful.
understand what is actually happening in their bodies. We have a diet buddy, which helps people quickly come up with healthy meals that they can create just looking at what they have around them. We have a neuro buddy, we have an assessment buddy, we have a lot of different buddies. So yeah, our first one right now is universal. It works, the language works for everyone, and it's fantastic. It's the third version of it that we've come up with, and it just got better and better. And this one is, it's amazing. It really is.
Wow, that will be such a help to many. And again, as you mentioned, is that when you talk about diet or things like that, a lot of times it is people who go in for emotional eating,
Yeah.
or they get into some habits. This is just to get away from some of the struggles that they're having. And a lot of times it is about being bullied, again, for adults also. And I can say that when I was growing up, I was bullied a lot. So that's the reason I was so passionate about getting in touch with you and getting this thing out to the world. So, guys, again, if somebody of your any of you all is having some ideas on what needs to be done, etc., or what can be looked into it differently, again, there's a platform out over there to reach out and see where it leads to. One of the questions which come out is that, okay, you're busy with your glee. No, I don't say the word busy. Busy is a very wrong word. You have been quite active with glee labs, where you're busy getting in the bully buddy. You have been busy with being a goodwill ambassador, among the many other things. You have been totally involved with a lot of AI ecosystems, etc. Plus you are a parent and kids and the other activities which is taking place. How do you manage that time?
Right. Well, everything kind of flows together. I mean, everything I do really fits well with the other things. Glee Labs has been amazing. They're powering all of our AI systems.
Mhm.
Ted Sims and Greg Lottis are the founders of Glee Labs, and they're just
Mhm.
amazing human beings. We're excited to create more tools to help people with. And my daughters are watching. And so it makes it necessary for me to be doing what I'm doing to show them that they can do that too. I recently left my job at the school district
Mhm.
so that I can focus and be all in on Bully Buddy and Glee Labs. And when someone asked me about if I stopped working at the school recently, my girls were so excited to quickly answer them, telling them that I work at Bully Buddy. And they're super pumped about the merchandise that we have now. It's just a really exciting thing to get to see that what I'm doing not only makes a difference and an impact in the world, but in my own household for my daughters, because our kids really are the future. And if we can show them what's possible and set them up for success, then
Mhm.
we're changing tomorrow.
Of
We're
course,
changing the world. So yeah, no, everything fits with each other, and it just naturally falls into place.
I am tempted to say it doesn't always fall into the place. Some there are moments where you could be feeling overwhelmed.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely there are moments of overwhelmness, but you know, I think this is the first time in my life that the good is so clear that it makes it easier to remember to take a breath, and that the hard times will pass. And I mean, Bully Buddy itself has been a good tool for me to just talk to about the challenges real quick. I have it saved to my home screen, and I just click and start talking. And the way that it regrounds you is a quick, easy simple way, but it works. And sometimes it just takes getting things out of your head and
Mhm.
out loud for more space to free up.
That's wonderful. The fact that you have made yourself as a subject for Bully Body, I think so. That is for a lot of people to take a page out and looking into what Bully Body is all about. Because as you mentioned, that this focus specifically in that particular arena. You mentioned the world for tomorrow.
Mhm.
What are your plans in the growth and development in this particular area? Because again, as I mentioned, in the last few months, I've seen you pivot from areas which you are passionate about. And just now when I'm talking to you about Bully Buddy, I know there is, I always believe that once you get into the niche of the purpose, life seems to be, yes, so fulfilling.
Mhm.
You're not really bothered about being yes, overwhelming does takes place. You are at times, but a time, as you mentioned, is that there is suddenly a flow which comes in.
Mhm.
So based on that, what's your plans for the future? Maybe 3 months from now, 6 months from now, maybe 3 years from now. What do you have in mind for something which is
Right. Well, I mean, it's exciting being in the flow right
mm,
now, and we have so many projects that we get to make, like all the different buddies. I mean, there's so many problems in the world, and
just sorry for interruption, but if it is non I mean, I don't want to say, don't want to ask you if it is something which is there in the pipeline and you don't want to tell it. So please
oh
don't. And
no,
then it is.
no, you're fine. I mean, essentially, we're gonna solve as many problems as we can
Mhm.
with AI. So we'll be plugging into systems, different ecosystems that also believe that we need psychological safety and support.
Mhm.
We'll be plugging into all of those systems, doing a lot more speaking and appearances and collaborations and all of that. So yeah, the sky's the limit.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. And just being mindful of the time.
Mhm.
I would. Is there something that comes to your mind that you would like to? Because this of my podcast, there's especially in YouTube and Spotify, I say that it's not for kids, it's only for adults. And of course, adults can learn a lot if they take the time. But is there something that comes to your mind that you would like to tell? I'm not telling about advices, but suggestions that comes to your mind, whether the steps that they can work on to create a better world. That's number one. The second thing is what in your journey, what has helped you to grow further as a wonderful human that you are.
Oh, thank you. Well, so I recently had an assessment done. It was a reassessment for my ADHD, and then it was an autism assessment. And I think that the more we learn about ourselves, the better life gets. Once we can understand, hey, this makes sense. This is why I have reacted this way, or this is why this bothers me, or, anything. It makes it easier to not only accept it and to forgive ourselves for, like, sometimes we hold ourselves to these standards that aren't only unrealistic, but they're unnecessary.
Mhm.
And I think that the more we learn about ourselves and who we are, the easier it is to take steps forward, to embrace our strength, to understand where we can improve, and to inspire other people to do the same. I would love to see more people getting out there and just doing what they're passionate about. I think AI and technology makes it superhumanly possible to live life in a zone of contentment, purpose, and passion. And I know that we are now going to be able to empower people to use AI to do that. All of our experts that we use to train our AIs, they get to share information to help other people. Like that in itself is such a super cool gift. But there's so many people out there with experience, knowledge, and wisdom that can help empower the multitudes right now with AI. So that's really a gift.
Acceptance. I think so. Thank you so very much, Jess, on that, because there are few points that you came across which is so important for a human to grow. Number one, as you mentioned, is that radical forgiveness, not only about outside but within their own self. Forgive themselves, self-acceptance, evolve with what are the changes coming rather than being resistant, specifically in today's world with AI coming in such a big way. Okay, there could be tools that could help you to see doors that you had never thought about before. Okay, and there are ways that they can. Networking is such a huge thing, and okay, you talk about AI as electronic environment, but then you got to understand the tools there which comes up, or the response that comes up is from the people who have got a lot of answers.
Yeah.
So it could be very much changing. So Jess, thank you so very much for your space and time. This has been an amazing conversation, and I sincerely hope so. Guys, if you have reached until this point of the podcast, please connect with Jess. See what it can evolve, because it could be you, it could be somebody that you know, and a lot of times they may not tell that they are being bullied, or they might say it in another word. But if you believe that somebody else requires some help in some way or the other, there is a space wherein you can go and reach out. So it's my sincere request, plea, if there is a requirement, go ahead and connect. So just thank you again for your space and time. You have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Thomas.